Hey guys, it's Nicole. Today I'm here to recommend you some mystery novels. I'm not well read enough in this genre to be an expert, but still I read a few things. If you want to get more recommendations and from a person that actually knows her shit, go to Joss from Scribble Reads. She does a lot of videos that are dedicated to this genre, and if you're a fan, I think you're going to find a few great books in her recommendation videos. The first book that I'm going to recommend is the one that a lot of people heard about from BookTube. Most of you probably read, but still it's one of my favorites. It's The Night Film by Marisha Passel. It's very shiny, so sorry about it. What I personally enjoyed the most about this book is that it does have an original format. It is full of all kind of case files and newspaper bits and letters, and it's very entertaining not only to read a book or to read about a crime, but also be the detective of that crime. I think a lot of people that read a crime fiction, and me included, we like the idea of being an investigator. I was playing in Nancy Drew games from a very young age, and I always enjoyed being Nancy Drew because I could investigate, I could pick up clues, I could analyze and think of who the murderer or the thief is. I still really love those games because they give me an illusion of being inside of a story. That's why I really like this. It has actually a very entertaining plot as well. It's about a journalist that accused a very famous reclusive horror director of some unimaginable things, and in the court it turned out that he was stood up. All the clues that he found were not real. He lost his journalist cred because of this case and couldn't forget about it since then. But the shocking news awakened him, and he is ready to dive back into the investigation because the daughter of this famous director killed herself. But he suspects that she didn't kill herself, that she could have been killed by someone tied to this family or even the director himself. I really enjoyed this book, even though it's hyped, but for me it was hyped for a good reason, and it is long, but also I didn't feel the time when I was reading it. The next book is The 13th Tale by Diane Satterfield. It was a popular book before BookTube, so a lot of people read it before BookTube or Bookstagram was even a thing, and I think because of it not a lot of young booktubers read it. I've read it a year ago or so on my vacation, and I really enjoyed it. It is a story about a young woman who works in her father's bookshop. She is barely known biographer, but she is passionate about this, and one time she comes back home and she finds a letter on her doorstep. It is a letter from a famous writer that inquires if this woman can write her biography. Our protagonist is shocked because her works are not well known, and also because this woman is a legend, and it is told that she holds a lot of secrets and that she was never truthful during her interviews. And in this letter, this writer says that she's going to tell her everything, every little piece that she never disclosed to the wider public, because she knows that she's dying and she wants this biography to be truthful. It's a mystery novel with gothic elements. I do enjoy some gothic elements in my novels. I really enjoy the atmosphere in it. It's one of those books where a young girl comes to a weird house. The characters are absolutely fascinating, and even the protagonist is not a blank sheet, because in a lot of these types of books you will notice that the protagonist isn't really fleshed out because the author wants you to be the protagonist, and you play along because it's entertaining. In this case, the protagonist has a lot of secrets of her own as well. There's a few very interesting things about her past that she discloses further into the book. There was a lot of family drama in this one as well, and if you like the discussion of toxic relationships in family or just stories about odd families, I think you will enjoy this one. A mystery novel that I read recently, Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, was one that I really enjoyed. I think readers were very polar when it came to this book. Some of them really liked it and some of them didn't like it at all, and I think the reason is because it has a fantastical element in it. You have to suspend your disbelief if you're diving into this book. It's a novel about a woman that has an affair with a married man. She doesn't know that he's married at first, but she's a secretary, and when she comes back to work the next day, she realizes that she has a new boss, and this boss is the man that she had an affair with. Not only he's her new boss, but he's also married. And she meets his wife, and the worst part about it is that she really likes her. So she's basically pulled in two directions. She wants to explore her love life because it's been a while, and she divorced her husband a very long time ago, but also she has this connection to this woman and it grows into a good friendship, and she doesn't know how to handle this situation. As I said, this story has a fantastical element, and to me this makes this story more special because the core of the story is pretty simple. It's something we've seen before. And then of course there's The Secret History by Donna Tartt. I always recommend this book because it's amazing. A lot of people know about it, a lot of people read it, a lot of people loved it. And if you didn't read it yet because you're afraid that it's supposed to be literary fiction, don't be afraid of that because it's also a great mystery novel. The characters are all terrible people, but you're not supposed to like them anyway. They're all arrogant snobs, and if it's not something you like to read about, maybe don't read it. But I find it very entertaining that you can read a novel with such characters and still care and root for them even though you're not supposed to be. It is a story about Richard that goes to a New England college and meets a group of eccentric Greek students that he basically falls in love with. He wants to be a part of this group so badly, and eventually he does find a way to be in this group. And you might be happy for Richard because he finally found his place even though he felt misplaced in this college. If only this book didn't start with a short epilogue where Richard didn't tell us that he and his friends killed one of their classmates named Bunny. The next novel I just read recently, it's A Line in the Dark by Melinda Law. If you are looking for a queer crime novel, I think this one is going to be satisfying for you. It is a young adult contemporary crime novel. It does deal a lot with coming-of-age issues, but it also has an element of a mystery. And I will precede your questions and tell you that no lesbians were harmed in the making of this book, which is not a spoiler. I was very excited for this book for a very long time because I love Melinda Law and I love all the things that she stands for. It follows a girl named Jess Wong. She is hopelessly in love with her best friend named Angie. She follows her around, she constantly does what Angie asks of her, but she never tells Angie about her feelings until Angie starts dating Margot. Margot and Angie seem to be so lovey-dovey and Jess is extremely jealous. So it's basically a love triangle between these three girls that turns unexpectedly into something dark. Jess becomes paranoid that Margot might be not the best person for Angie. Part of it is just jealousy, and part of it is the fact that she starts hearing rumors about Margot that are concerning. It is a story about teenagers and hormones boiling over, and I do appreciate this novel for what it does because we don't see this type of narrative between three girls very often, and it changes a lot of dynamics because it's about women and womanhood. I also enjoyed how Melinda Law inserted Jess's hobby, which is art, to make this story a little bit more suspenseful and dark. I do have to say that I felt that this novel is very predictable, somewhere in the middle, but then in the end I was very, very surprised. One of my favorite novelists, Sarah Waters, writes amazing suspense. I think she's applauded for writing great historical fiction, but never the fact that she's also an amazing mystery novelist. She can create a truly bleak and dark atmosphere that I appreciate in my suspenseful novels. And the novel that I want to recommend is Affinity. It follows a woman named Margaret that tried to kill herself after the death of her father. In that age, suicide was against the law, so you could be dragged to a prison because you attempted to kill yourself. But her family decides to be quiet about it, and they are trying to give her some kind of an outlet where she can pour her grief into. She starts visiting ladies in the prison and starts talking to them. It was believed that a proper woman can set these prisoners into a right direction just by talking to them and inspiring them. So she becomes one of those. It is a very interesting experience for her, and soon she realizes that some of these women didn't commit that big of a crime at all, and especially this woman named Celia, who says that she can talk to spirits and that the person that died during her seance wasn't killed by her. They were killed by an evil soul. It is a very curious piece of fiction because Sarah Waters researched spiritualism and people's fascination with it in that era, and she described a lot of things that truly existed and that were interesting to me. Another great historical fiction with some mystery elements is Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. I especially recommend it to read in colder months because it is set in Iceland, and there's a lot of descriptions of snow and rural life and how hard and terrible sometimes it is. It is about the last woman who was executed for a crime. She supposedly murdered her lover, and we don't know much about why. But her point of view and point of view of other characters sheds a little bit of light on this case. I found it very enjoyable. I was curled up under my blankets, burning my candles, completely engrossed in this book. I think it took me just a couple of days to read, and I really enjoyed the atmosphere of it. If you're afraid of historical novels or slow novels, maybe it's not for you, but if you love historical novels but you also love mysteries, this is certainly going to go great for you. And the last novel that I'm going to recommend I found through Book Riot, and I'm extremely happy about it. I was googling diverse mystery novels and wanted to read some, and I stumbled on this. It is Yesterday by Felicia Yap. It has a very unique concept. Basically, this society in this world, which is our world just reimagined, is not divided by race or sex or class. They are divided by the amount of things they can remember. There's monos and there's duos. Monos can remember what happened yesterday and what happened until they turn the age of 18, and duos can remember up to the age of 21, I think, and they remember 2 days in the past. So of course it gives them a serious advantage, and they populate the highest ranks. They are politicians and directors, and of course it means that monos are treated as second-class citizens. And that's just the background of the novel. The novel itself is about a woman that is found in the river dead, and the detective that is a hidden mono that poses himself as a duo comes to the door of a famous novelist named Mark, who is a duo but has a mono wife, which is very unusual in this world. He's a best-selling crime author, and he wants to be elected as an MP. So as you understand, it is happening in the United Kingdom. Everyone in this world carries iDiaries, which is basically an electronic diary where you type in your memories from the other day, so you could look into it if you need it, because you cannot remember what happened a few days back. These diaries are private under the law, like our thoughts, but when the investigation takes place, detectives have the right to take the diary of the dead person, for example, and read it. And they read in this woman's diary that she knew Mark, and they come to his door and start questioning him. The concept of the loss of memory makes this book so entertaining because it affects the investigation a lot. A lot of people that are intertwined into it are forgetting what's happening the more time passes, and the detective himself has to solve the case in a day, otherwise he will forget certain details about it that he didn't write in his diary. It's a very interesting mystery novel, and if at first certain things don't make sense, it is explained later in the book, so don't be turned off by that. That's all the books that I'm going to recommend in this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful, even though I'm not a connoisseur of mystery novels. If you want to recommend me a mystery novel, do that in the comments down below, or if you read one of this and you want to discuss them, also do that down below. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you soon in my next one. Bye!